initially, a lot of people, a lot of my naysayers were like, oh, being anti-Semitic again. Oh, yeah, blaming the Jews, all this stuff, right? And yet, a couple days in, even Nick Fuentes and the like, because they are grifters that are utterly devoid of even having an ideological backbone in this circumstance, Nick Fuentes and Sneako and many others are now also taking that pivot and taking that position. It's just that the first couple of days, they were really framing the, all Somalis must be deported. 2 days in, though, now he's like, all the complaining about Somalians will result in nothing, no mass arrests, no deportations, nothing transformative. We all know that. This is more slop designed to rally the GOP base back to this failing joke of a government and pivot from on Israel to Muslims. Huh. Interesting. The first couple of days, however, he was really leaning into like, this is Somali fraud. Somalis all need to be deported. He was leaning into the slop, the distractive slop. And now he's turning around and being like, actually, yeah, he did the same thing with Venezuela. He's stealing your talking points. I know. A lot of these guys do this. First, they get everything they can and frame. They get everything out of like initially leaning into the framing that's popular. And when that framing changes because people go, hold on, the f going on here? This seems a little suspicious. They go, okay, you're right. Still Somalis, but also let's make note of the fact that this is obviously, trying to shift our attention away from on Israel to Muslims or whatever. I think Sneako had something like that to say as well. Sneako speaks on Nick Shirley being promoted by MAGA conservative influencers to replace Nick Fuentes. But do you understand? I did this. I talked about, without being a Holocaust denier or without being anti-Semitic, I talked about all of this stuff. What happened when I did that? First day out, one of the things that I talked about was this. I was like, there is a very clear-cut goal here. There's a big agenda here. Okay? Everybody yelled. Everybody yelled. They were like, shut the fuck up, you woke bitch, all this stuff, right? Now they're all saying it too. And the difference is when you're right too early and you're basically alone out there and you're sticking your neck out there, everyone is going to dunk on you, even if they agree with you later down the line. This is something that I've experienced throughout my career. Okay? You're a streamer. What impact could you have? I mean, the YouTuber is the guy who had a tremendous impact, don't you think? But this is, again, the endless haranguing of correct takes coming from the left opens up an opportunity for people who are tackling this issue from the right, tackling this issue in an anti-Semitic manner, tackling this issue from a perspective that is like, yeah, we got to deport all the Somalians, but honestly, we got to deport all the Jews too, like that sort of thing. That's the reason why when these guys do it, they get 60,000 likes on Twitter. When leftists do it early and they're right from the start, everybody harasses them and goes, shut the up. Shut up, bitch. You're stupid. You don't know what's going on. And honestly, because there is no interest, because everything is like slotted in, because everything is like heavily biased in this media environment, and basically, as long as you are part of the group that is advocating for whatever values you think you have, no one even turns around and goes, hey, man, you weren't saying that 2 days ago. What the happened? You were really farming it. You were really leaning into it. You were really saying that like it's all Somalis. It's all Somalians, right? It was Somalians that are doing a tremendous amount of theft and whatnot. Why are you shifting back to this?
Listen, now they're talking about daycares in Minnesota. And now this guy, Nick Shirley, I'm not too sure about him. I spoke to him before. Nick Shirley's doing this podcast tour with all the Zio MAGA conservative influencers. And he's being pushed really hard by Elon Musk.
Well, how are they not waking up saying, Hasan was right, I should reflect on this? Because it's like Hasan was right, but not in the way they wanted. Too much well poisoning. If your primary, this is something that I don't do. Like the other day, I despise Destiny. I despise his politics. I think he's mostly spite based, right? He's driven by spite. But when Destiny was yelling at Asmongold because Asmongold was doing his like Somalians are third worlders and parasitic or whatever, I gave him credit. When XQC actually came to the right conclusion that Nick Shirley's video did not have any journalism whatsoever, I gave him credit. Now, here's the thing. Other people don't do that. Other people usually don't do that. And people in my audience actually get mad at me as well. They say, why are you giving him credit for, like, you know, the bare minimum? Because I think it's understandable to give people credit for doing the bare minimum if no one else is doing the bare minimum, okay? You have to grade people on a curve, always. Do you understand? I'm always going to call balls and strikes, even if no one else does it for me, even if everyone else is negatively framing regardless, okay? The Hasan sucks, but sometimes he has good takes, guys. They only take the words, not the person saying them. Exactly.
Being endorsed by JD Vance. He's going on PBD, who openly hates Muslims all the time. He's getting on Trump Jr.'s show, and Trump Jr. will be like, America first, but then also never talk about Israel or push to get the Epstein files released. It's a little bit strange, the push he's making. And then I see him say some talking points. He's like, yeah, I'm a virgin. I don't drink alcohol. I don't have any vices. I'm waiting until marriage. And I'm like, who does this sound like?
Talking about what we do here instead of just doing it is the worst part of the stream. I think it's important to sometimes dial it back a couple steps and explain to people why I'm doing certain things so they understand it a little bit better. And they also reflect on that and maybe even internalize those values and not come across as so aggressive and angry towards people.
Nick Shirley, who does this sound like? And I don't think this is true, but if they did want a replacement for somebody who is speaking about Israel and who's clearly challenging the GOP right now and wreaking havoc all over American politics, then they would need somebody who replaces him, the great replacement, a young white guy in his 20s who is aligned with the Peter Thiel.
Yeah, he's Brylan Holland, okay? He's the new Brylan Holland. That's what it is. Remember, after Charlie Kirk got murked, after Charlie got kirked, the GOP tried to set up a new Mormon guy, Brylan Holland, or whatever the fuck his name is, and everyone was like, shut the fuck up, this sucks. We don't want this at all, right? And now they're looking for other people, and this is one of the other people, right?
Cabal with the Zio Magatard group, the people who can talk about Muslims all day long and who are going to cry and scream and yell about Somalis, but when it comes to Epstein, they're blind. It's strange. And so I do want to speak to Nick Shirley. I'll DM him. I think he follows me. I do want to bring him on stream and speak to him and see, I want to figure out what his intentions are and what's going on, or if they gave him, what conversation they had behind closed doors, because this push happened really quickly. He has the most viewed X video of all time. It has like 3 million views on YouTube, but it's the most viewed video ever on X. Some of that stuff seems strange. So I want to go figure this stuff out. And,
just the point is, a lot of these guys lean into, instead of developing their own worldview, which is hard and requires reading, right? A lot of these guys will lean into whatever is popping. Okay. And then sometimes their true opinions come out. Okay. Like with Sneako. Sneako obviously went into the right-wing grift pretty hard, red pill, all this stuff, even reverted to Islam. But I think the reversion to Islam was real. That was genuinely real. He is actually following on this stuff, right? He's actually following through on this stuff. It's not just like made up or whatever.